The arrival. Zara Novak stood frozen at the base of the gleaming crystalline spire that housed the Galactic Academy, her heart pounding in her chest. The iridescent structure seemed to stretch endlessly into the violet sky of Centauri Prime, its faceted surfaces refracting the light of 3 suns. Around her, a dizzying array of alien species bustled about, their bodies twisting and morphing in ways that defied her understanding of biology. "Come on, Zora," she muttered to herself, clutching the strap of her well-worn backpack. "You didn't come halfway across the galaxy to chicken out now." At 17, Zara was the youngest human ever admitted to the prestigious Galactic Academy. Her groundbreaking work in theoretical physics had caught the attention of the admissions board, earning her a coveted spot in the incoming class. But now, faced with the reality of her situation, doubt began to creep in. Taking a deep breath, Zara stepped onto the grav lift at the base of the spire. The translucent platform hummed to life, lifting her effortlessly towards the upper levels. As she ascended, she couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding her. Earth's best universities seemed like relics in comparison. The lift deposited her on the 200th floor, where a holographic sign flickered to life. New Student Orientation. Zara stepped off the platform, her legs wobbling slightly as she adjusted to the artificial gravity. "Identification, please," chirped a disembodied voice. Zara fumbled with her credentials, pulling out the iridescent card she'd been issued upon arrival at the spaceport. A beam of light scanned the card, and then the voice spoke again. "Welcome, Zara Novak of Earth. Please proceed to Auditorium 7B for the xenobiology briefing." Zara followed the holographic arrows that appeared in the air before her, guiding her through the twisting corridors. She passed aliens of all shapes and sizes, some humanoid, others defying description. A group of gaseous entities floated by, their translucent bodies shimmering with internal light. A towering insectoid creature clicked its mandibles in what might have been a greeting. As she walked, Zara couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She caught glimpses of curious stares and heard whispered conversations in languages her universal translator couldn't decipher. The weight of being the only human in sight pressed down on her. Finally, she reached Auditorium 7B. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a vast chamber filled with tiered seating. Hundreds of alien students were already gathered, their varied anatomies creating a kaleidoscope of colors and textures. Zara hesitated in the doorway, suddenly unsure where to sit. A slender, blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms noticed her discomfort and waved her over. "You look lost," the alien said, its voice melodious and slightly accented. "First day jitters." Zara nodded, grateful for the friendly face. "Is it that obvious?" The alien laughed, a tinkling sound like wind chimes, only to those of us who've been there. "I'm Sinra, 3rd-year xenolinguistics major. And you're human, right? We don't see many of your kind here." "Zara," she replied, settling into the seat next to Sinra. "And yeah, I'm human. First one admitted in, well, ever, I think." Sinra's eyes widened, all 4 of them blinking in surprise. "Impressive. You must be quite exceptional to have earned a spot here. What's your field of study?" Before Zara could answer, a hush fell over the auditorium. At the center of the room, a holographic projection flickered to life, coalescing into the form of a tall, serpentine creature with iridescent scales. "Greetings, new students," the hologram spoke, its voice resonating through the chamber. "I am Professor Sthera, Dean of Xenobiology. Welcome to the Galactic Academy." The professor's gaze seemed to sweep across the room, lingering for a moment on Zara. "You represent the brightest minds from across the known universe, chosen from countless applicants to study at this prestigious institution. Here, you will push the boundaries of science, technology, and understanding." Cythera's form shifted, displaying a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. "But before we delve into the intricacies of your chosen fields, it is crucial that you understand the diversity of life you will encounter during your time here. What followed was a whirlwind tour of galactic biology. Stera covered everything from the plasma-based life forms of the Cygnus Nebula to the silicon-based intelligences of the Outer Rim. Zara's head spun as she tried to absorb the staggering variety of life that existed beyond Earth's borders. As the lecture progressed, Zara became acutely aware of the differences between herself and her alien classmates. Some had multiple limbs or sensory organs she couldn't even identify. Others seemed to communicate through colors or pheromones. She felt painfully ordinary in comparison. And finally, Cythera said, "We come to one of the galaxy's more intriguing species, humans." Zara stiffened in her seat as all eyes turned toward her. The holographic display shifted to show a rotating image of a human body. Humans are a relatively young species, only recently achieving interstellar travel, Cythera continued. They are carbon-based bipedal mammals, notable for their adaptability and capacity for abstract thought. However, they lack many of the physical and sensory advantages common to other spacefaring races. Murmurs rippled through the auditorium. Zara felt her cheeks burning as she sank lower in her seat. Despite these limitations, the professor went on. Humans have shown a remarkable ability to innovate and overcome obstacles. Their inclusion in galactic society is still a matter of some debate, but their potential contributions cannot be ignored. As the lecture concluded, Zara felt a mix of emotions churning inside her. Pride at being singled out as exceptional, shame at being portrayed as primitive, and a burning determination to prove herself. Zin returned to her, all four eyes blinking sympathetically. "Don't let it get to you. Professor Cythera is known for being clinically objective." Zara managed a weak smile. "Thanks. I guess I knew what I was getting into when I applied here. It's just different, being the alien for once." As they filed out of the auditorium, Zara's datapad chirped with a notification. She pulled it out, struggling for a moment with the alien interface before managing to open the message. "Attention Zara Novak," it read. "Report to Laboratory Complex Delta for placement evaluation. Your unique physiology requires additional assessment to determine appropriate safety protocols and equipment modifications." Zara sighed, realizing her day was far from over. She bid farewell to Xinra and set off in search of the laboratory complex, steeling herself for whatever challenges lay ahead. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, each turn revealing new wonders and alien technologies. Zara passed rooms where students manipulated holographic molecules with their minds, and others where temporal fields flickered and danced. Finally, she reached Laboratory Complex Delta. The doors slid open, revealing a sterile white room filled with equipment she could scarcely comprehend. A tall, willowy alien with luminous skin greeted her. "Ah, the human specimen," the alien said, its voice a series of melodic tones. "I am Dr. Xylix, head of Tenophysiology. We've been eagerly anticipating your arrival." Zara bristled at being called a specimen but forced a polite smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Xylix. I'm ready for whatever tests you need to run." What followed was the most thorough and bizarre medical examination of Zara's life. She was scanned by devices that seemed to peer into the very fabric of her being. Samples were taken of every conceivable bodily fluid. At one point, she found herself suspended in a zero-gravity field while multicolored lights danced across her skin. Through it all, Dr. Xylix and a team of assistants murmured to each other in tones of scientific fascination. Zara caught phrases like surprising neural plasticity and intriguing endocrine responses, but tried not to let her imagination run wild. Hours later, exhausted and more than a little sore, Zara was finally released. Dr. Xylix handed her a data crystal containing her results and a list of recommended equipment modifications. "Fascinating," the alien mused. "Simply fascinating. Your species continues to surprise us, Ms. Novak. I look forward to seeing how you adapt to our academic environment." As Zara left the laboratory, her mind reeled from the day's events. She had known that attending the Galactic Academy would be challenging, But the reality of her situation was only now sinking in. She was an alien here, a curiosity to be studied as much as a student to be taught. But as she made her way to her assigned living quarters, a new resolve began to form within her. Yes, she was different. Yes, she faced challenges her classmates could scarcely imagine. But she had earned her place here, and she would prove that humanity deserved a seat at the galactic table. Zara reached her room, a small but comfortable space that had been hastily modified to accommodate her human needs. As she set down her belongings, she caught sight of her reflection in the room's smart glass window. The same brown eyes and unruly dark hair stared back at her, but something had changed. There was a new determination in her gaze, a fire ignited by the day's trials. "All right, Galactic Academy," she said to her reflection. "Let's show them what a human can do." As the alien suns set outside her window, casting the sky in a riot of colors Earth's atmosphere could never produce, Zara Novak began to prepare for her first real day of classes. The adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. The paradigm shift. The first few weeks at the Galactic Academy passed in a blur of new experiences and challenges for Zara Novak. Each day brought fresh wonders and frustrations as she navigated the complexities of alien academia. The coursework was grueling, pushing the boundaries of her understanding of physics and mathematics. But it was the cultural differences that truly tested her adaptability. In her quantum mechanics class, Professor Axtol, a beings composed entirely of scintillating energy, lectured by projecting complex equations directly into the students' minds. The first time it happened, Zara had nearly fallen out of her seat, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of information. Her classmates, accustomed to such teaching methods, had merely absorbed the knowledge with ease. "Ms. Novak," Axtol had said, its voice a symphony of harmonic frequencies, "perhaps you would benefit from a more traditional approach." A holographic display materialized in front of Zara, showing the equations in a format her human brain could process. Zara had felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she refused to let it deter her. She spent her evenings in her quarters, poring over texts and practicing the mental techniques that would allow her to keep up with her peers. It was during one of these late-night study sessions, 3 weeks into the term, that Zara had her first breakthrough. She was grappling with a particularly thorny problem in dimensional quantum field theory when something clicked. The equations seemed to dance before her eyes, rearranging themselves into a pattern she'd never considered before. Excited, Zara scribbled furiously in her notebook, old-fashioned paper and pencil her preferred tools for working out new ideas. By the time the first of Centauri Prime's suns peeked over the horizon, she had filled dozens of pages with calculations and diagrams. In class that day, Professor Axtol presented the class with a challenge problem, one that had stumped some of the galaxy's finest minds for centuries. The Krell-Vosik paradox, the energy being intoned, has long been considered unsolvable. But I encourage you all to approach it with fresh perspectives. Sometimes, the most intractable problems require unconventional thinking. Zara's hand shot up before she could stop herself. "Professor," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I think I might have a solution." A ripple of surprise passed through the class. Even Axtol's energy form seemed to flicker with interest. "Indeed, Ms. Novak. By all means, please share your approach with the class." Heart pounding, Zara made her way to the front of the lecture hall. She interfaced her datapad with the holographic projector, and her hastily sketched diagrams sprang to life in the air before her classmates. "The key," Zara began, her initial nervousness fading as she lost herself in the elegance of the mathematics, "is to consider the problem not in dimensions, but in +1 dimensions. If we introduce a temporal axis that intersects with the spatial dimensions at nonlinear intervals, we can resolve the apparent contradictions in the Krell-Vosik equations." For the next 20 minutes, Zara walked the class through her solution, her hands moving animatedly as she explained each step of her reasoning. When she finished, there was a moment of stunned silence. Professor Axtol's energy form pulsed rapidly, a sign of intense concentration. "Ms. Novak," the being said at last, "this is most unconventional. And yet, I cannot find fault in your logic. You've approached the problem from an angle none of us had considered." A murmur of excitement rippled through the class. Zara felt a surge of pride, tempered by the wary look some of her classmates were giving her. She had just upended centuries of established theory, and not everyone was comfortable with such a paradigm shift. As word of Zara's breakthrough spread through the academy, she found herself the center of attention. Some professors sought her out, eager to discuss her ideas further. Others regarded her with skepticism, unwilling to accept that a human student could have solved a problem that had eluded the galaxy's greatest minds. Zinra, her blue-skinned friend from orientation, caught up with her in the corridor after class. "Zara, that was amazing," the alien exclaimed, all four eyes wide with excitement. "How did you even think to approach it that way?" Zara shrugged, still a bit overwhelmed by the attention. "I don't know, really. It just made sense to me. I guess sometimes it helps to come at a problem from a completely different perspective." "Well, you've certainly shaken things up around here," Sindra said with a laugh. "Come on, let's grab some nutrient spheres from the cafeteria. I have a feeling you're going to need your strength for what's coming next." What came next, as it turned out, was an invitation to present her findings to the Academy's Board of Regents. Zara spent days preparing, refining her equations and practicing her presentation. The night before the big day, she could barely sleep, her mind racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The board chamber was an imposing space, its walls lined with holographic displays showing the achievements of past Academy luminaries. Zara stood before the assembled regents, a diverse group of beings representing some of the most advanced species in the galaxy. As she began her presentation, Zara felt a familiar calm settle over her. This was her element, the pure beauty of mathematics and physics. She lost herself in the equations, barely noticing the surprised murmurs and intense gazes of the regents. When she finished, there was a long moment of silence. Then, one of the regents, a crystalline being whose faceted body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns, spoke. "Ms. Novak," it said, its voice resonating through the chamber, "your work is intriguing. If your theories prove correct, they could revolutionize our understanding of quantum mechanics and potentially unlock new avenues of technological development." Another regent, a being of pure thought whose form was only visible as a shimmering distortion in the air, chimed in. "However, we must exercise caution. The implications of your work are far-reaching, and we cannot rush to overturn established theories without rigorous verification." Zara nodded, understanding the weight of what she was proposing. "Of course," she said, "I'm prepared to work with any team the Academy assigns to verify and expand upon my initial findings." The crystalline regent's facets sparkled with what might have been approval. "Very well. We shall assemble a research group to pursue this line of inquiry. Ms. Novak, you will be expected to play a key role in this endeavor, alongside some of our most esteemed faculty members." As Zara left the board chamber, her mind was reeling. She had come to the Galactic Academy hoping to learn, to prove that humans could contribute to the grand tapestry of galactic science. Now she found herself at the forefront of potentially groundbreaking research. The news of Zara's appointment to the special research group spread quickly through the academy. The reactions were mixed. Many students and faculty members were excited by the possibilities her work presented. Others, however, were less enthusiastic. Zara overheard whispered conversations in the corridors, caught glimpses of disapproving looks from some of her classmates. "It's just a fluke," she heard one insectoid student chittering to its peers. "Humans don't have the mental capacity to truly grasp these concepts. She'll be exposed as a fraud soon enough." Such comments stung, but Zara refused to let them deter her. She threw herself into her work with renewed vigor, splitting her time between her regular classes and the special research project. The research team was a diverse group, including representatives from some of the galaxy's most intellectually advanced species. There was Dr. Xylix, the willowy alien who had conducted Zora's initial medical examination, whose expertise in xenobiology proved invaluable in understanding how different species perceived and interacted with quantum phenomena. Professor Axtol joined the team as well, its ability to manipulate energy fields directly providing unique insights into the practical applications of Zora's theories. As the weeks passed, Zora's initial hypothesis began to bear fruit. The team made steady progress, each new discovery building upon the last. They were pushing the boundaries of known physics, exploring realms of mathematics that even the most advanced AI systems struggled to comprehend. But with each success came new challenges. The more progress they made, the more resistance they faced from the scientific establishment. Zora found herself having to defend her work not just to her peers, but to skeptical professors and visiting scholars from other institutions. It all came to a head during the Academy's annual symposium on theoretical physics. Zara and her team were scheduled to present their preliminary findings to an audience of the galaxy's leading scientists. As she stood backstage, waiting for her turn to speak, Zara felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her. But with each success came new challenges. The more progress they made, the more resistance they faced from the scientific establishment. Zara found herself having to defend her work not just to her peers, but to skeptical professors and visiting scholars from other institutions. It all came to a head during the Academy's annual symposium on theoretical physics. Zara and her team were scheduled to present their preliminary findings to an audience of the galaxy's leading scientists. As she stood backstage, waiting for her turn to speak, Zara felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her. Zinra found her there, offering the supportive smile. "You've got this, Zora," the alien said, giving her a gentle pat with one of its four hands. "Just remember, you've earned your place here. Show them what humans are capable of." Taking a deep breath, Zora stepped out onto the stage. The amphitheater was packed, filled with beings of all shapes and sizes, their attention focused solely on her. For a moment, she felt a flash of panic. Then she caught sight of Professor Axtol in the front row, its energy form pulsing encouragingly. Zora began to speak, her voice growing stronger with each word. She laid out their findings, explaining how their work was not just a human perspective on galactic science, but a synthesis of diverse viewpoints that opened up new possibilities for all species. As she delved into the technical details, Zora could see the audience's reactions shifting. Skepticism gave way to interest, then to excitement. By the time she concluded her presentation, the amphitheater was buzzing with energy. The question and answer session that followed was intense. Scientists from across the galaxy pressed Zora and her team for details, challenging their assumptions and probing for weaknesses in their theories. But for every question, Zara and her colleagues had a well-reasoned response. As the symposium drew to a close, Zara found herself surrounded by a crowd of excited researchers, all eager to discuss potential collaborations and further explorations of her work. She caught snippets of conversations in dozens of languages, her universal translator struggling to keep up with the technical jargon. Could revolutionize faster than light travel. Implications for energy production are staggering. Mike finally cracked the problem of quantum gravity. Exhausted but elated, Zara finally managed to extricate herself from the crowd. As she made her way back to her quarters, she realized that something fundamental had changed. She was no longer just a curiosity, a human oddity in an alien world. She had become a respected colleague, a scientist whose ideas were shaping the future of galactic research. That night, as she looked out at the alien stars from her window, Zara felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. She had come to the Galactic Academy to learn, but she had ended up teaching as well. And this, she realized, was only the beginning. The paradigm had shifted, and Zora Novak, the human prodigy, was at the heart of it all. The breakthrough, the aftermath of the Theoretical Physics Symposium, catapulted Zora Novak into a whirlwind of academic celebrity. Her inbox overflowed with messages from researchers across the galaxy, all eager to collaborate or simply to pick her brain. The Galactic Academy's administration, recognizing the potential of her work, granted her team expanded resources and a dedicated laboratory space. But with increased attention came increased scrutiny. As Zara and her team delved deeper into their research, they found themselves under constant pressure to produce results. The scientific community was divided. While many were excited by the possibilities Zara's theories presented, others remained skeptical, waiting for the other shoe to drop. 3 months into their intensive research, Zara found herself at an impasse. The team had made significant progress in developing the mathematical framework for their new understanding of quantum mechanics, but they struggled to find a way to experimentally verify their most radical predictions. Late one night, as Zara pored over data in the team's lab, she was surprised by a visit from Professor Axtol. The energy being's form pulsed with a soft, concerned glow. "You're working yourself too hard, Ms. Novak," Axtol said, its harmonics conveying a note of worry. "Even beings of pure energy require rest. Surely humans do as well." Zara rubbed her tired eyes, offering a weak smile. "I'm fine, Professor. It's just, we're so close. I can feel it. There's something we're missing, some connection we haven't made yet." Axtol's form shimmered thoughtfully. "Perhaps what you need is not more time in the lab, but a change of perspective. Tell me, have you visited the Cosmic Observatory yet?" When Zara shook her head, Axtol's energy field brightened. "Then come. Sometimes, to understand the very small, one must contemplate the very large." Intrigued, Zara followed the professor through the Academy's winding corridors and up to a domed structure at the very top of the spire. As they entered, Zara's breath caught in her throat. The observatory was a marvel of alien technology, its transparent dome offering an unobstructed view of the star-studded sky. But it was more than just a window to the cosmos. Holographic displays filled the air, showing real-time data from sensors scattered across the galaxy. "Watch," Axtol said, its form expanding to manipulate the controls. The view shifted, zooming in on a distant star system. Zara saw swirling gases coalescing into planets, the birth of a new world unfolding before her eyes. "The universe is in constant flux," Axtol continued. "Planets form and crumble, stars are born and die, galaxies collide and merge. And yet, underlying it all are the fundamental constants, the immutable laws that govern reality itself." As Zara watched the cosmic dance, something stirred in the back of her mind. She saw patterns in the movement of celestial bodies, echoes of the quantum equations she'd been wrestling with for months. "Professor," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "can you show me a black hole? One that's actively consuming matter?" Axtol complied, and the view shifted again. A monstrous black hole dominated the display, its event horizon a stark line between existence and oblivion. Streams of matter spiraled into its maw, stretched and distorted by the immense gravitational forces. Zara's mind raced. She saw in the black hole's behavior a macroscopic version of the quantum phenomena she'd been studying. The way space-time curved around the singularity, the dance of particles at the event horizon. It all clicked into place. "That's it," she exclaimed, startling Axtol. "We've been thinking too small. The key to verifying our theories isn't in subatomic particles. It's in the most extreme environments in the universe." Energized by her epiphany, Zara rushed back to the lab, Axtol trailing behind her in a streak of luminous energy. For the next week, she barely slept, fueled by a combination of excitement and copious amounts of caffeine, which she'd had specially imported from Earth at great expense. When she finally emerged from her work frenzy, Zara had developed a proposal that would shake the foundations of physics. She called an emergency meeting of her research team, her eyes bright with the fervor of discovery. "We've been approaching this all wrong," she announced to the assembled aliens. "We've been trying to observe quantum effects at the microscopic level, but the evidence we need is written in the stars themselves." She laid out her theory. By studying the behavior of matter at the event horizons of black holes, they could indirectly observe the quantum effects they'd been struggling to detect in the lab. Moreover, she proposed that by combining their new understanding of quantum mechanics with cutting-edge gravitational wave detectors, they could potentially communicate across vast distances instantaneously, effectively achieving faster-than-light information transfer. The implications were staggering. If Zara's theory proved correct, it would revolutionize not just their understanding of physics, but interstellar communication, and possibly even travel itself. Her team was cautiously optimistic, but they all recognized the monumental challenge ahead. Verifying the theory would require coordinating observations of multiple black holes across the galaxy, a feat that had never been attempted on such a scale. Dr. Xylix, ever practical, raised a crucial point. The resources required for this endeavor are far beyond what the Academy has allocated to our project. We'll need the support of multiple institutions, perhaps even the Galactic Confederation itself. Zara nodded, undaunted. Then that's what we'll get. We've come too far to stop now. This could change everything, not just for physics, but for all sentient species in the galaxy. The next few weeks were a blur of presentations, negotiations, and heated debates. Zara found herself speaking to audiences she'd never dreamed of addressing. The Galactic Science Council, representatives from the most prestigious research institutions across known space, even a few highly advanced AI collectives that had taken an interest in their work. Throughout it all, Zara was grateful for the unwavering support of her team and mentors. Professor Axtol used its considerable influence to vouch for their project, while Dr. Xylix's meticulous planning helped turn their ambitious proposal into a feasible research plan. Not everyone was convinced, of course. At a crucial meeting with the Funding Allocation Committee, Zara faced her harshest critic yet, Dr. Voxnar, a renowned physicist from a hyper-intelligent gas-based species. "This is preposterous," Voxnar wheezed, its gaseous form roiling with agitation. "You propose to upend centuries of established theory based on the fanciful notions of a human child. The resources you're requesting could fund a dozen conventional projects. It's an unconscionable waste." Zara felt a flash of anger at being dismissed as a child, but she forced herself to remain calm. She'd faced skepticism before. She knew how to handle it. "Dr. Voxnar," she said, her voice steady, "I understand your concerns. What we're proposing is radical, yes, but consider the potential benefits. If we're right, we'll open up new avenues of research that could advance our understanding of the universe by centuries. And if we're wrong, then we'll have conducted the most comprehensive study of black holes ever attempted, providing valuable data for future researchers." She paused, letting her words sink in. Science progresses by challenging our assumptions, by daring to ask the questions others think are impossible. That's what we're doing here. And I believe that's worth the risk. There was a moment of tense silence. Then, to Zara's surprise, one of the committee members, a crystalline being she recognized as the regent who had first approved her research, spoke up. "Well said, Ms. Nowak. Your passion is admirable, and your logic is sound. I move that we approve the funding for this project." The vote that followed was close, but in the end, Zara's proposal was approved. As she left the meeting room, she felt a mix of elation and trepidation. They had their funding, their support. Now came the hard part, proving their theory correct. The next year was the most challenging of Zara's life. Coordinating observations across multiple black holes required precise timing and flawless execution. The team worked around the clock, analyzing vast amounts of data, refining their models, and pushing the limits of their equipment. There were setbacks, of course. More than once, Zara found herself on the verge of giving up, wondering if she'd led her team on a wild goose chase across the cosmos. But each time, something would happen to renew her determination. A small correlation in the data, an encouraging word from a colleague, or simply the memory of that night in the cosmic observatory when it had all become clear. And then, on a seemingly ordinary day, it happened. Zara was reviewing the latest data from their gravitational wave detectors when she noticed an anomaly. At first, she thought it was an error, a glitch in the system, but as she dug deeper, her excitement grew. "Everyone, come quick," she shouted, her voice echoing through the lab. I think we've done it." The team gathered around her display, watching in awe as she walked them through her findings. There, hidden in the noise of the universe, was a clear pattern, a quantum signature that matched their predictions perfectly. "It's not just one instance," Zora explained, her fingers flying over the controls. "Look, we're seeing the same pattern across multiple black holes, all correlating exactly as our theory predicted." The lab erupted in cheers. Years of work, countless sleepless nights, and endless challenges had led to this moment. They had done it. They had proven that quantum effects could be observed at cosmic scales, and in doing so, had opened up a new frontier in physics. As the initial excitement died down, the team realized the magnitude of what lay ahead. Their discovery would need to be verified independently. Their paper would face intense scrutiny, and the full implications of their work would take years, perhaps decades, to fully understand. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Zora looked around at her team, a diverse group of beings from across the galaxy, all brought together by a shared passion for understanding the universe. She felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just for herself, but for all of them. "We did it," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "We really did it." Dr. Zilix placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "No, Zora," the alien said warmly. "You did it. You showed us a new way to look at the universe. Whatever comes next, never forget that." As news of their breakthrough began to spread, Zora knew that her life, and potentially the future of galactic science, would never be the same. The journey that had begun with a lonely human girl stepping into an alien academy had led to a discovery that would reshape their understanding of the cosmos itself. And yet, Zora couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. As she looked out at the star-filled sky that night, she wondered what other mysteries lay waiting to be uncovered, what new frontiers remained to be explored. The universe, she realized, was far more vast and wondrous than she had ever imagined. And she, Zara Novak, human prodigy, and now groundbreaking physicist, was ready to dive headfirst into its deepest secrets. The Alliance. In the wake of their groundbreaking discovery, Zara Novak and her team found themselves at the center of a galactic scientific storm. Their paper, published in the prestigious Universal Physics Review, sent shockwaves through the academic community. Requests for interviews, speaking engagements, and collaboration proposals flooded in from across the known universe. But with great success came great scrutiny. As news of their work spread, so did the voices of skepticism and opposition. Many established scientists, particularly those whose life's work was challenged by Zora's findings, pushed back hard against their conclusions. Dr. Voxnar, the gaseous physicist who had opposed their initial funding, became one of their most vocal critics. In a scathing rebuttal published just weeks after Zora's paper, Voxnar argued that their results were a statistical anomaly, a product of overzealous pattern-seeking rather than genuine discovery. The controversy came to a head at the Galactic Science Summit, held on a massive space station orbiting a neutron star. Zara found herself facing off against Dr. Voxnar in a debate that would be broadcast to trillions of sentient beings across the galaxy. As Zara prepared backstage, she felt a familiar flutter of nerves in her stomach. This was far beyond anything she had faced before. The fate of her research, and potentially her entire career, hung in the balance. A gentle touch on her arm startled her from her thoughts. She turned to see Sinra, her old friend from her first days at the academy. The blue-skinned alien's 4 eyes crinkled in a warm smile. "Thought you could use a friendly face," Sinra said. "How are you holding up?" Zara managed a weak smile. "Honestly, I'm terrified. What if Dr. Voxnar is right? What if we've made a terrible mistake?" Sinra shook her head firmly. "No, Zara. I've seen your work. I may not understand all the intricacies, but I know you. You're too thorough, too careful to have made a mistake of that magnitude. Trust in yourself and in your team." Before Zara could respond, a chime sounded, signaling that it was time. With a deep breath, she stepped out onto the stage. The debate was intense from the start. Dr. Voxnar was a skilled orator, his gaseous form shifting and swirling dramatically as he laid out his arguments against Zora's work. He questioned their methodology, their interpretation of the data, and even Zora's qualifications to lead such an ambitious project. "We cannot overturn centuries of established theory based on the fanciful notions of an inexperienced human," Voxnar wheezed, his form turning a deep purple with agitation. "The arrogance of youth must not be allowed to derail true scientific progress." For a moment, Zara felt overwhelmed. But then she remembered all she had been through, all her team had accomplished. She straightened her shoulders and stepped forward. "Dr. Voxnar," she began, her voice steady, "you speak of arrogance, but isn't it more arrogant to assume that we already know everything there is to know about the universe? Science progresses by challenging our assumptions, by daring to ask the questions others think are impossible." She tapped a control, and a holographic display sprang to life behind her, showing the intricate patterns they had discovered in the gravitational wave data. "These patterns are not statistical anomalies," she continued. "They are consistent across multiple black holes, observed over an extended period. We've had our results independently verified by 3 separate institutions. This is real, Dr. Voxnar, and it's just the beginning." As the debate raged on, something unexpected began to happen. Other scientists in the audience started to speak up, asking questions not just of Zora, but of Dr. Voxnar as well. To Zora's surprise, many of them seemed to be coming around to her side. One of these was Dr. Lyrix, a renowned quantum physicist from a species of silicon-based life forms. "I must admit," Lyrix said, his crystalline form glittering under the stage lights, "I was skeptical at first. But the more I examine Ms. Novik's data, the more convinced I become. There's something here that we cannot ignore." By the end of the debate, the tide had turned. While not everyone was fully convinced, most agreed that Zora's work merited further investigation. As she left the stage, exhausted but elated, she was approached by Dr. Lyrix. "Ms. Novik," the crystalline being said, "I would be honored to collaborate with you and your team. I believe my expertise in quantum entanglement could be valuable in exploring the implications of your discovery." Zara's eyes widened. Dr. Lyrix was a legend in the field. His support could open doors she hadn't even known existed. "The honor would be ours, Dr. Lyrix," she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite her excitement. In the weeks that followed, Zara's team grew and evolved. Dr. Lyrix was just the first of many brilliant minds drawn to their project. They were joined by Dr. Isharan, a time perception specialist from a species that experienced time nonlinearly, and Professor Kovoth, an expert in exotic matter whose amorphous body seemed to defy the laws of physics. Together, this diverse group of scientists began to explore the full implications of Zora's discovery. They worked tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of known physics and venturing into realms of theory that had once been considered pure science fiction. Their progress was rapid, but not without challenges. The team often found themselves butting heads, their different perspectives and ways of thinking leading to heated debates. Zara, still the youngest and least experienced member of the team, sometimes struggled to make her voice heard. It was during one such argument that Zara had an epiphany. The team was debating the best approach to test a particularly controversial aspect of their theory. Voices were raised, tentacles were waved, in the case of Dr. Isharan, and it seemed they were at an impasse. Suddenly, Zara saw the situation with perfect clarity. Each member of the team was approaching the problem from their own unique perspective, shaped by their species' particular way of perceiving the universe. And in that diversity lay their greatest strength. "Wait," she called out, silencing the argument. "We're all right. And we're all wrong. We're looking at this from too narrow a viewpoint. What if we combine our approaches? She quickly sketched out a plan that incorporated elements from each of their proposals. As she explained her idea, she saw understanding dawn in the eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, of her colleagues. Brilliant, Dr. Lyrics murmured, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. By approaching the problem from multiple perspectives simultaneously, we can obtain a more complete picture of the phenomenon. Professor Kvath's amorphous body rippled in what Zara had come to recognize as agreement. This is why we needed a human on the team. The professor said, "Your species' ability to think laterally, to make unexpected connections, is truly remarkable." From that day forward, the dynamics of the team changed. They learned to leverage their diverse perspectives, turning what had been a source of conflict into their greatest asset. Zara, once seen as the junior member of the team, was now valued for her ability to synthesize ideas and find creative solutions. Their work progressed at an astonishing pace. They developed new mathematical models that unified quantum mechanics and gravity in ways never before imagined. They proposed experiments that could potentially manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. But as their research advanced, they began to attract attention from quarters beyond the scientific community. Representatives from various galactic governments started showing up at their lab, asking pointed questions about the potential applications of their work. One day, Zara was approached by a sleek, metallic being that introduced itself as an emissary from the Galactic Defense Council. "Ms. Novak," the being said, its voice a melodious hum, "your work has not gone unnoticed. The Council is interested in exploring potential strategic applications of your research." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. She had always known their work could have profound implications, but she had focused on the scientific and exploratory potential. The idea that it could be used for military purposes had never crossed her mind. "I'm sorry," she said firmly, "but our research is purely theoretical. We're not interested in developing weapons or other military technologies." The emissary's metallic surface rippled in what might have been amusement. "My dear Ms. Novak, I'm afraid you don't have much choice in the matter. The Council has ways of ensuring cooperation." Before Zara could respond, Professor Axtol materialized beside her, its energy form crackling with barely contained anger. "I believe you'll find that you're mistaken," Axtol said, its harmonics razor-sharp. "The Galactic Academy has very strict policies regarding the autonomy of its research teams. Any attempt to coerce or threaten our scientists will be met with the full force of interstellar law." The emissary seemed taken aback by Axtol's sudden appearance. It hummed uncertainly for a moment before backing down. "Of course, Professor, we meant no offense. The Council merely wished to open a dialogue. We'll be in touch." As the metallic being glided away, Zara turned to Axtol, her heart pounding. "Thank you, Professor. I didn't know what to do." Axtol's form softened, its glow becoming more comforting. "You handled it well, Zara. But I'm afraid this won't be the last time you face such pressures. Your work has the potential to change the balance of power in the galaxy. There will always be those who seek to control or exploit it." Zara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "What should we do?" "We continue our work," Axtol said firmly. "But we must also be vigilant. Your team has made remarkable progress, but you've only scratched the surface of what's possible. The path ahead will not be easy, but I believe you have the strength and wisdom to navigate it." As Zora looked around the lab at her team, beings from across the galaxy, each brilliant in their own right, all united in the pursuit of knowledge, she felt a surge of determination. They had come too far, accomplished too much, to be deterred now. "You're right, Professor," she said. "We've formed an alliance here that transcends species, politics, and even our individual perceptions of the universe. Whatever challenges we face, we'll face them together." Axtol's energy form pulsed with approval. "Well said, Zara. Now, shall we get back to unraveling the mysteries of the cosmos?" With a grin, Zara turned back to her workstation. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and she and her team were just beginning to unlock its secrets. Whatever the future held, she knew that the alliance they had formed, this diverse group of brilliant minds, united by curiosity and the pursuit of knowledge, would be ready to face it. As she dove back into her calculations, Zara couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. They were on the brink of something truly monumental, something that could change the course of galactic history. And she, Zara Novak, once a lonely human girl in an alien world, was at the heart of it all. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. The revolution. The galactic year 7285 dawned with a sense of anticipation that rippled across the cosmos. In laboratories, universities, and research stations scattered throughout the known universe, beings of all species waited with bated breath. Today was the day that Dr. Zara Novak and her team would attempt to demonstrate their revolutionary technology for the first time. In the 5 years since their initial breakthrough, Zara and her diverse team of brilliant minds had worked tirelessly to turn theoretical concepts into practical applications. They had faced skepticism, political pressure, and even threats, but they had persevered. Now, they stood on the precipice of a discovery that promised to reshape the very fabric of galactic society. The chosen site for the demonstration was a remote star system on the fringes of explored space. A massive array of sensors and communication relays had been set up, allowing billions of beings across the galaxy to witness the event in real time. Zara stood in the control room of their experimental station, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Around her, her team made final preparations. Dr. Lyrix's crystalline form glittered as he ran last-minute diagnostics on their quantum systems. Professor Kavath's amorphous body rippled with concentration as they fine-tuned the gravitational field generators. Dr. Isharon's tentacles danced over a complex temporal monitoring device, ensuring that all was in order. Final checks complete, announced Sinra, who had joined the team as their operations coordinator. All systems are go. Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. All right, Heem. This is it. Everything we've worked for comes down to this moment. Let's make history. With a nod from Zara, Shinra opened a channel to the waiting galaxy. Greetings to all sentient beings across the cosmos. We are about to begin the demonstration of the Novak Lyrix Quantum Entanglement Network. Zara stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the unseen audience of trillions. What you are about to witness is not just a technological achievement, but a fundamental shift in how we understand and interact with the universe itself. Our network harnesses the principles of quantum entanglement, amplified through the gravitational lensing effect of strategically positioned micro-black holes. This allows for instantaneous communication and data transfer across any distance, effectively eliminating the concept of time lag in interstellar communications. She paused, allowing the magnitude of what she was saying to sink in. But that's just the beginning. Our tests have shown that this network can also be used to transmit matter itself, instantly and safely across vast distances. Today, we will demonstrate both capabilities. At Zara's signal, Dr. Lyrix activated the quantum entanglement array. A soft hum filled the control room as fields of shimmering energy sprang to life around the station. On screens around the room, readings from the sensor network showed the quantum field expanding, connecting their remote location to receivers spread across the galaxy. Quantum network stable, Dr. Lyrix reported, his crystalline voice vibrating with excitement. Commencing communication test. Zara nodded to Xinra, who sent out a simple message through the network. Almost instantaneously, confirmations began pouring in from every corner of the galaxy. The message had been received simultaneously by all connected nodes, with no time delay whatsoever. A cheer went up from the team. This alone was a monumental achievement, one that would revolutionize galactic communication and bring distant worlds closer together than ever before. But they weren't done yet. Prepare for matter transmission test, Zara ordered, her voice tense with anticipation. This was the truly revolutionary part of their work, and the most risky. They had conducted numerous tests with inanimate objects and even simple life forms, but this would be the first public demonstration of transmitting complex living matter across vast distances. Professor Kvoth moved to the transmission chamber, their amorphous body forming into a roughly humanoid shape. "I volunteer as the subject," they announced. "As a being of indeterminate form, I am the ideal candidate to test the system's ability to transmit complex life." Zara felt a lump in her throat. Despite all their precautions, there was still an element of risk. "Are you sure, Professor?" Kvoth's body rippled in what Zara had come to recognize as a smile. "My dear Zara, I've dedicated my life to pushing the boundaries of science. What better way to continue that tradition?" With a mix of pride and anxiety, Zara watched as Kvoth entered the transmission chamber. The door sealed shut, and a room hummed with building energy. "Initiating matter transmission," Dr. Isharan announced, her tentacles flying over the controls. The air seemed to thicken as immense energies were channeled through the quantum network. The transmission chamber glowed brightly, then flashed in a burst of light that momentarily blinded everyone in the control room. As Zora blinked the spots from her eyes, an excited shout came from Sinra. "We've got confirmation. Professor Kvoth has successfully rematerialized at the receiver station in the Andromeda Galaxy." The control room erupted in cheers and embraces. They had done it. In the blink of an eye, they had sent a living being across a distance that would have taken conventional spacecraft millions of years to traverse. As the team celebrated, an incoming transmission caught Zora's attention. It was Professor Kvoth, their amorphous form waving excitedly from a station over 2 million light-years away. "It worked perfectly," Kvoth exclaimed. "The transfer was instantaneous, and I feel no ill effects. Zara, my friend, do you realize what we've accomplished? We've effectively conquered distance itself." As the implications of their success sank in, Zara felt a profound sense of awe. They had changed everything. Distant colonies could now be reached in an instant. Exploration of the farthest reaches of the universe was now possible. The very concept of galactic geography had been rendered obsolete. But with this monumental achievement came new challenges and responsibilities. As congratulations and inquiries flooded in from across the galaxy, Zora could already see the questions forming. How would this technology be implemented? Who would control it? How would it change the balance of power among galactic civilizations? In the days and weeks that followed, Zara found herself thrust into a role she had never anticipated. Not just a scientist, but a leader and visionary shaping the future of galactic society. She testified before the Galactic Confederation, arguing passionately for open access to the new technology. "This discovery doesn't belong to any one species or civilization," she told the assembled representatives. "It belongs to all sentient beings. We have the opportunity to usher in a new era of unity and cooperation across the cosmos." Her words struck a chord, and gradually, a consensus began to form. The Novik Lyrics Network, as it came to be known, would be developed and implemented under the oversight of a new independent body with representation from all major galactic civilizations. As the implications of their discovery continued to unfold, Zora often found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. From a lonely human girl stepping into an alien academy to the leader of a team that had fundamentally changed the course of galactic history, it was almost too much to comprehend. One evening, as she stood in the cosmic observatory where she had first glimpsed the true vastness of the universe, Zora was joined by Professor Axtol. The energy beam's form glowed softly in the dimness of the room. "How are you holding up, Zara?" Axtol asked, its harmonics gentle and concerned. Zara smiled, gazing out at the star-filled vista before them. "It's overwhelming sometimes," she admitted. "I never imagined I'd be in this position. There's so much responsibility, so much potential for both good and ill in what we've created." Axtol's energy field pulsed in what Zara had come to recognize as a nod. "Indeed. But if anyone is equipped to handle this responsibility, It's you, Zora. You've grown so much from that eager young student who first arrived at the academy. I couldn't have done it alone, Zora said. It was the alliance we formed, the combination of diverse perspectives and brilliant minds, that made this possible. And that, perhaps, is the greatest lesson in all of this, Axtol mused. The true power of science, of progress, lies not in individual brilliance but in collaboration, in the meeting and melding of different ways of thinking. Zora nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. You're right, and that's the message we need to spread. This technology, this new understanding of the universe, it's not just about conquering distance or advancing science. It's about bringing all sentient beings closer together, about fostering understanding and cooperation on a galactic scale. As they stood there, gazing out at the cosmic tapestry before them, Zara felt a profound sense of hope for the future. Yes, there would be challenges ahead. Yes, there would be those who might seek to misuse or exploit their discovery. But there would also be countless opportunities for growth, for exploration, for bringing the diverse species of the galaxy closer together than ever before. The revolution they had started was not just scientific, but social and philosophical as well. It was a revolution of perspective, challenging all sentient beings to think beyond the boundaries of their own worlds and species, to see themselves as part of a greater cosmic community. And Zara Novak, once an outsider in an alien world, now stood at the heart of this galactic transformation. As she looked out at the stars, each one now potentially as accessible as a neighboring planet, she felt a thrill of excitement for what the future might hold. The universe, vast and wondrous, lay open before them, and together, united by the bonds of science and mutual understanding, they would explore its mysteries, face its challenges, and shape the destiny of all sentient beings. The revolution had begun, and it was only the beginning. Epilogue. Decades passed, and the impact of the Novik Lyrics network continued to reshape galactic society in ways both profound and unexpected. Interstellar travel, once the domain of the wealthy and powerful, became accessible to all. Cultures that had been separated by vast gulfs of space now mingled freely, leading to an unprecedented exchange of ideas and perspectives. Scientific progress accelerated at an astounding rate as researchers from across the galaxy collaborated in real time, tackling the greatest mysteries of the cosmos together. The concept of galactic governance evolved, with new systems emerging to manage the increasingly interconnected civilization that spanned the stars. And at the heart of it all was the Galactic Science Academy, now a shining beacon of knowledge and cooperation. Its halls were filled with students and researchers from thousands of species, all working together to push the boundaries of understanding. In a place of honor in the Academy's Great Hall stood a statue. It depicted a diverse group of beings: a human, a crystalline entity, an amorphous form, a tentacled creature, and others, all working together around a central model of the quantum universe. The plaque at its base read, "Dedicated to Dr. Zora Novik and the Alliance of Minds, whose work revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos and brought the galaxy together. May their legacy of curiosity, collaboration, and courage inspire future generations to reach for the stars and beyond." And somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of the universe, Zara Novak and her team continued their work, forever pushing the boundaries of the possible, forever seeking to understand the profound mysteries of existence. For they had learned that in science, in exploration, in the grand adventure of discovery, there was no final frontier, only new horizons waiting to be explored.